President Trump's new spending and tax package that he's referred to as his one big beautiful bill is awaiting action in the U.S. Senate after the House passed it last week. Thanks for joining us tonight for Fox 43 News at 10. I'm Evan Forrester. 10th District Congressman Scott Perry supported the bill in the House despite concerns about the bill's increase to the federal deficit. Fox 43's James Corrigan sat down with Congressman Perry today here in our studio. He joins us now with details of that conversation.
Well, Evan, the bill has been the talk of the nation since it passed the House last week, with many of President Trump's promises on taxes in this bill, but others around the country are concerned with its effects on social programs. Congressman Scott Perry addressed those concerns in my conversation with him right here in the studio, and he says he remains concerned about its effects on the federal deficit.
It did some great things, but it's still got a lot of work to do.
For Congressman Scott Perry, that work involves reducing the bill's projected increases to the federal deficit. While he supports the bill's extension of President Trump's first-term tax cuts and the elimination of taxes on tips and overtime, he voted for the bill despite its projected addition of more than $2 trillion to the deficit and its raising of the debt ceiling by $4 trillion.
Why are you supporting a bill that would increase the deficit and keep the deficit where it is by that much?
Okay, so again, none of these bills are perfect. You don't get everything you want. If we're going to preserve the taxes where they are, you're going to have to do something.
You've talked about the debt ceiling increases as also almost an admission of more debt. Do you see it the same way?
I do see it as the same way, but at the same time, again, Rand Paul will say, I didn't vote for this increased spending that caused the debt. I agree with him, neither did I. At the same time, if we default, that'll be very, very bad for the economy as well. And I'd actually like us to see us cut some spending so that we never got into a circumstance where we needed to continue to increase the debt ceiling.
Much of the spending cuts from the bill come from Medicaid. The bill imposes work requirements of 80 hours a month for able-bodied adults and freezes states' abilities to increase provider taxes that allow them to collect more federal dollars for Medicaid. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projects that the bill would cause more than 8 million Americans to lose their health care. While Democrats argue that the requirements will hurt the economy by keeping more people off health care, Perry says the changes allow Medicaid to cover who it was meant to cover.
It wasn't meant for people that could work but choose not to. It is meant for people that are poor or can't work, and so we're going to preserve it. If we want to preserve it for the people that it was intended for, we've got to get rid of some of this waste.
Your Democratic opponents will argue that fewer people on Medicaid will lead to fewer people working, so that sicker people are less likely to work. What would be your response to that?
If we're paying for people that could work that choose not to, who do not have dependents but choose not to work, the system is going to fail.
I want to bring you to something that Josh Hawley said about Medicaid, saying, quote, if Republicans want to be a working class party, we must ignore calls to cut Medicaid and start delivering on America's promise for America's working people. With these cuts, is the GOP still the party of the working people?
Of course the GOP is the party of the working people, and I would remind Senator Hawley that under this program, just like I told you before, Medicaid increases 25% over the next 10 years. Only in Washington, D.C. is a 25% increase considered a cut.
Others are concerned over the bill's impact on SNAP benefits. Under its new formula, 29 states with higher error rates, including Pennsylvania, would see its share of SNAP spending go to 25%, up from 0. While Governor Shapiro warns the state would not be able to make up the billion-dollar difference, Perry says the states need to have responsibility in keeping error rates down.
They have no incentive to verify that a person is even eligible. So everybody that applies, whether they're eligible or not, can get the benefit. And again, it becomes unaffordable.
The Central PA Food Bank in Harrisburg, right in your district, they have sounded a little bit of the alarm, saying that these cuts would hurt rural areas, that they are worried that they may not be able to keep up with new demand from these cuts. You talked about cutting spending, of course.
Right.
Why is this an area where spending should be cut?
Well, let's be clear about what the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank is talking about. What they're talking about is programs that started during the pandemic and were never scheduled to continue to go on forever.
Even for SNAP, even just the basic funding of
Okay,
SNAP?
so basic funding for SNAP, then they need to go to the state government and make sure that the people are qualified. Again, we have to make sure that people are actually qualified to be on these programs because they are not endless pits of money.
Are you concerned about states' abilities to?
I think the state can make up the difference. I worked at the state level as well. There's plenty of waste and fraud and abuse there too.
The bill is now in the hands of the Senate, with Republican senators indicating significant changes could be made. Perry says he would have concerns if the Senate version adds more to the deficit, but that he's hopeful the final bill will be fiscally sound.
I hope what they will see and what they will experience is that their taxes won't go up, that the economy will be running in a robust fashion, and where they feel pretty good about the future of their country and their own personal future.
And the House and Senate both return to Washington next week, and the Senate will get to work on that bill. They've indicated that the bill will not look the same after they're done. Whether all of the tax cuts or funding shifts in those entitlement programs will survive, it all remains to be seen. Evan.
All right, certainly a lot of insight. Fox 43's James Corrigan. We should mention we'll put your entire conversation with Congressman Perry on our website, fox43.com. James, thank you.